in life been stung by a bee. It's not necessarily a medical emergency in an acute sense, but sometimes it can be if it leads to anaphylactic shock, or what's called a systemic allergic reaction. Now, how do we avoid bee stings? Sometimes it's hard to do, but one of the things we can do, we know the time of year that the bees and the wasps, yellow jackets, hornets, start to build their nest, and it's usually in the spring of the year. They love to build nests in areas that are dry. You've probably seen a yellow jacket nest setting up. A lot of times on play equipment, along the guards and areas like that, underneath slides. And we need to check these areas. Check around your house for these yellow jacket and wasp nests. And that's one way we can keep them down. We don't really want to kill any God's creatures, but we don't want them around for our children to get injured by either. So out in the yard's fine, but around the house and in the play areas and things like that, we do need to keep these bees, wasps, yellow jackets, hornets away so children don't get stung. That's the first key, is prevention. So we're going to watch those areas. Look in the trees. Sometimes hornets will build nests in trees. If there is a hornet's nest built in a tree in the yard, make sure to talk to your kid about it. You know, kids will follow the rules, and you tell them what will happen if they were to hurt that yellow jacket or that hornet's nest, or if they were to throw rocks at it or something like that. And kind of warn them about situations like that. Keep our eye out for yellow jacket nests that have been built and things like that in early spring and things like that. But we're going to get stung every once in a while by a bee in our life, and we have to know how to react to that. There's been a lot of old rumors over the years about bee stings. One of them, whenever I was growing up, Grandma used to take some snuff and she'd pull it out of her mouth. This big old wad of brown snuff and some grandma juice, and she'd slop it on there. And the old wives' tale is if you put some tobacco or something like that, it'll draw the poison out. It's not true. Actually, that was a diversionary trick. What happened in that situation? First, it was hurting. It's like, oh, I just got stung by a bee. And all of a sudden you start thinking, Grandma slops some of that tobacco juice on you, and it's like, oh my gosh, I've got Grandma's tobacco juice dripping down my arm. So it kind of grosses you out and makes you not think about the pain of the bee sting. So in a way, it did alleviate the pain. It just distracted us. But there's no medical proof that tobacco or any other products will pull the venom out of the sting. Now, one thing we don't want to do with bee stings is to use our fingers, fingernails, or tweezers to pull them out. And here's why. Let's say I've got a bee sting on my hand here. If I use my fingers or fingernails or tweezers, the first thing I have to do is have to squeeze on it to pull it out. Well, a bee stinger is kind of like a hypodermic needle. If I've got a bee stinger in my hand here, sometimes the poison sac is even connected to it. And it's actually pulsating poison in there. And if I squeeze on it, I'm just helping the bee out. Never help a bee out. There's a better way to take out a bee sting. And what we're going to do here is we're going to take a flexible plastic debit card, driver's license, anything like that, and we're going to put it right up against the stinger. And we're going to put it about a 45-degree angle. Very gently, right where it goes into the skin, we're going to take this piece of flexible plastic and we're going to flick up and away, up and away, up and away, up and away, about 5 or 6, 7 times. If we can't get it up like that, we're very gently going to scratch where it goes into the surface, very gentle scratch, and then repeat that process, flick up and away, up and away. That bee stinger will pop right out of there. Bee stingers have little barbs on the side too. They're just microscopic against you. And that removes the stinger without any further venom being injected into it. Sometimes one bee sting can cause an allergic reaction. But we all need to be aware that a number of bees, we just don't know the number of bees, the type of bees that could bring on an allergic reaction, say in a child or even an adult. It just depends on the person and the bee that stung them and things like that. But kind of a general rule to follow, if somebody's stung 4 or 5 times, it's not a bad idea to call 911. It's not going to hurt. In most areas, the call to 911 is free. You can talk to them, get some information, and during that time period, they will determine whether they're going into anaphylactic shock and they're having trouble breathing. go into respiratory arrest. We don't want that. But while we've got them on the line, we can already have the questions being asked, location being provided, and quicker response time just in case. So if a number of bee stings 4 or 5 times, I would suggest you call 911. It's not going to hurt, and it could become a medical emergency very quickly. One of the things we always need to keep in the house, let me remember to tell you this, is Benadryl. Some form of Benadryl, liquid or pill form Benadryl. And that has saved many lives in a situation with bee stings and some other bee stinging and biting critters we're going to talk about in a few minutes. That saved a number of lives. So every medicine cabinet should have, as a stock item, Benadryl in liquid or pill form. And they even use it on your pets too, if they get stung by a bee or bit by a snake or a spider or something like that. So it's very versatile, very safe drug, and it's a very mild antihistamine. And some people with severe allergic reactions or systemic allergic reactions, you're going to talk about epinephrine and an EpiPen, and we'll cover that in a little bit later in severe allergic reactions. But the 4 or 5 bee stings is about enough to call 911. Another situation where we need to watch out for is if somebody was to swallow a bee or drink a bee down in a soft drink. You know, Yellow Jack gets them down to a Mountain Dew drink and somebody chugaloes it. Well, one sting by that bee in the right space, or I should say in the wrong place, can cause swelling, and that tissue could swell to the point where there's problems breathing, difficulty breathing, and possibly respiratory arrest. So we need to watch. Even one sting in the mouth would suggest that we need to call and just talk to the 911 dispatcher and see how things work out in that short time period while they're assessing the situation for you and with you. Also along that line, what do you do if a person does get stung? What's the treatment for that? Home treatments, things like that. I know y'all have heard of all types of home treatments. We've already talked about one. Baking soda is one. That hasn't been medically proven to do any good. Some products that we have found works fairly well are hydrocortisone creams, topical hydrocortisone creams, and also a product called Caladryl lotion. It's good old-fashioned Caladryl lotion. Calamine, it's Caladryl. It has Benadryl in it. Works good for mosquito bites too. I don't know, a lot of y'all have little kids that might welt up real bad with a mosquito bite and a bee sting. When it's in that blister form, take Caladryl lotion, that pink Caladryl lotion, little drop here, rubbed in pretty vigorously at the sting point or the bite point of the mosquito. And after that, take another big dollop and just put it on top and let it saturate in. And you'd be surprised, the whelps do not appear with a mosquito bite. And they work very good with bees too. So that's a treatment. Watch it for infection. Watch it for a couple days for infection. And usually one thing about the healing process from bee stings, in about a day or two, they're going to start itching around that area as the histamine forms and dissipates into the tissue below the skin. So get ready for a couple of little itchy spells. Ask them not to itch around or on top of that area where the bee sting is, because we don't want to disrupt the skin in the healing process. But be ready for some itching time for a couple days after that as the poison and the histamine reaction dissipates into the skin. And that's the end of bee stings. We're going to talk about other situations in our next video, biting critters, some that we might not like much, but we need to talk about them because they are in other areas of the United States, in our area, and we'll talk about those in just a minute.